And I forgot my cup.
You want us to hold down the fort while you're going to
Go get your
grab?
cup.
Yeah, don't sit there without.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing? Let's see who we got in the chat here. We got 12 Stones Ranch. He gets to be first. And there's Roberta's Artistic Adventures and Mary Jameson and Rebecca Touched by Yarn and Lazy Days Ahead and Petty Jean or Bobby. Little Ridge Farm, and we'll talk about Little Ridge Farm for a little while. Jeannie Lipsky, I haven't seen her in a while. Do you have no audio?
No,
we do. He muted me for a second, so that way I can, if I needed to ask him a question about something, he can tell me.
Or just mute you for some
Yeah.
Hill Homestead.
We got the experience to know when we got to shut this thing down so that people don't hear what she's saying.
I'm not bad.
She says inappropriate things periodically.
I do not say inappropriate things. You better stop.
It's a family show.
Oh my gosh. Linda Peterson. Hi.
There's Full Blown Country.
Yeah.
So how are you guys today? What did you get to do today?
Well, Eric got to go to work today.
I got a job to go to.
Yay.
No, I got to do the kids stuff. It was a nice day out here actually today. So the kids got to play outside a little bit. We haven't started school back up yet. So I went with my sister up to a bookstore. It's a local, like small bookstore library type place in like the Greenville area, right by where she lives. And so my two youngest boys got to have a little play date with their cousins, and I got to go have a library date with my sister. And we went to the bookstore for about 2 hours, just walking around, looking for different homeschool books and things that we needed. And that was pretty cool because I just purged like 3 boxes of books, and I got to get like 7 more new books today. So I think I did well. I only got like 7 books. I did pretty well for purging 3 boxes prior to Christmas. So, yeah, that's what I did today. That was most of my day right there.
All righty. So for those that don't know about your channel, you haven't been doing this farming for very long, have you? How many years?
We started farming back in 2014 when we moved down.
It has been a little while.
Yeah, I mean a little while.
A little bit.
But you're really gung-ho about that farming stuff with the cows and the pigs. I mean, you do some pretty detailed stuff.
Well, we're first generation in our really first generation, I guess, because Eric's dad used to live in West Virginia, and his dad did farming for a while. And then Eric's dad didn't really do farming. So it was a grandfather did it. And, he grew giant pumpkins and he grew all kinds of really great things as Eric was a little kid. But really, we didn't grow up farming. Neither one of us did this. This wasn't a part of our life. We lived right outside of Baltimore City. We grew up in the suburbs in a small community for our entire lives. And so at 35 and 36 years old, we decided this is where God was moving us, and we went where God said go. And so for us to pick up everything, including 7 children at the time, and come all the way to Texas, I mean, if you're going to do something like that, you might as well do it big, right?
Through watching some of your videos, you've done some real stuff, like making decisions on when a cow is not producing and whether it's time to harvest it, or that's it's something that you don't really think about on a regular. I didn't think about that, but it makes sense, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that when we moved down here, what we wanted to do was to be able to produce all of our own food. And, the reality of that is it's a very difficult task to be able to provide everything you need for yourself. But what we've been able to accomplish is be able to provide all of our own meat. And so all of the animals that are on our property have a purpose. And one of the hardest lessons that we're learning right now is you have to know when it's time to pull the plug, so to speak. And, that's a lot of our friends, a lot of our family who come down and visit us or watch us on YouTube or through Facebook, Instagram, all these different platforms. I think that sometimes they feel like it's like you just have a big petting zoo. But the reality is, and what we try to do is whenever people come to stay here, we actually had a whole family come visit with us over the New Year, and they brought us not one of the family members with them, 21-year-old young man. And we actually had a problem with our cows, and we had to put them in the chute. And I told him, I said, look, I need your hands. I need you to help me. And so, he goes from, okay, just tell me what you want to do, to you can see that there's investment in that, because we gave them opportunity to do things like ear tag and run them into the chute and to push them where they need to go. And so what we try to do is try to train people to understand that there's a reality of every cow, every pig, every animal that's being processed.
Chickens, ducks, rabbits, everything.
Whatever you're buying in the store, it is still a valued life. And somebody, whether it's a small farm or a huge ranch out in Montana or down here in Texas, that has put a lot of time and effort into every one of those animals. And you have to learn to separate the pet mentality to this is how we want to live. And we have to be very wise about it and not carry a lot of animals that can't produce.
Yeah.
Oh, makes sense. And you name them and you love them and everything. And then it's time.
Well, that's why he had me on mute a minute ago too, before we started, because I came in and I said, hey, did you see the reel? I put a reel out on Instagram today and I threw it up on Facebook, and I showed them, and it was just a quick little, just a few second reel. I think it's like 20 seconds long of just kind of what our year looked like last year. Just a snippet. And in that video, I had several animals that we have had leave our farm. And it was just emotional to watch because, one of those animals was our house pig. We did a video on bringing a pig into the house, raising him in the house, and actually bottle feeding him. And Peter the piglet lived with us for almost 2 years. He would have been 2 years old next month. And we processed him at the end of November. And I'm going to tell you what, it was definitely difficult to watch him go, but to know that he had such a great life. And all I keep getting is like the best comments about the meat that we got back. I mean, everyone so far that's tried it. Eric, are you messing with the light? Because Troy said something about the light. He's messing with the light. He's reading comments. See, but anyway, it was really nice to be able to have the compliments. My mother-in-law was saying, wow, this is the best ham we've had in a really long time. My 21-year-old son said, Mom, this meat, is this the new stuff? Because this is the best bacon we've ever had. And, my friend Jocelyn always says, it tastes better when it's loved. And I will tell you what, this is some of the best pork we've had in a long time. And he was loved probably more than any other pig I've ever had on this farm. So I'll give him a little credit for that. But sometimes it's hard when you name them, but I feel like they're worthy of names. Sometimes people don't want to name their animals because it's too hard. But I feel like a lot of our animals are going to be with us for a while. And in that sense, they are worthy of having a name and, being counted a part of our family, until they're not.
And your kids have pretty much grown up with that. So they're pretty used to it.
Well, only the bottom 4, basically, like half of them, the top half of our children, our oldest was at 14 when we moved here. So they were 14, 12, 10, and 8 at the time. And so, or 6 at the time. So it was like, this was not their lifestyle, and they've become accustomed to it. My 4 youngest kind of get the gist of it. They already know that's part of their life, because starting at the 4 youngest, they were only, 2 and younger. So they've always lived this. But my oldest 4 really didn't always grow up this way. So it's kind of something that they got used to over the years. And now it's, second nature. But at first it was hard. And when I told my 10-year-old daughter that she could have rabbits as long as we could enjoy them by way of eating, she was like, I'm in. I mean, she's just very candid and very straightforward. I guess the only girl out of 8 kids, you have to be. But we said, hey, you've always wanted rabbits. If you want rabbits, we can get them, but you gotta make sure you turn them over to us to eat. And she was like, okay, sounds good to me.
How long does a rabbit typically live anyway? Isn't it like 2 years?
I don't know. We've never had. I mean, no, actually, no. We have our breeders. We have our breeders.
Second birthday.
No, we actually breed our. We eat them before that anyway. But no, actually, our breeding rabbits. We've had a few of our breeders for about 4 years, and that's something 4 or 5 years, and we're learning now that that's a good age to be stop breeding them. And now we're going to be basically redoing our entire rabbitry this year. 2023 is a new rabbitry year for us. We are taking a lot of our breeders, and we're redoing that portion of our farm. So yeah, I mean, some of them are like 4 and 5 years old, and my daughter finally said, okay, now it's time for us to move on and decide who we're keeping and who we're getting rid of. And I think we're basically kind of turning over everyone this year.
And the rabbits have actually been a wonderful lesson for us because, they just stopped really producing the way they were supposed to. And then it's just something clicked and it was like, wait a minute, they're too old.
Yeah. They're 4 and 5 years old.
And so we started
for them to move on.
We started having some issues with some of the older cows as well, and realized that they're outside of their best breeding ages. And so that's where, getting back to what I was talking about, that you have to be able to identify when they're ready to be rotated out and know that, just kind of plan ahead.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thought that goes into it.
For sure. And I think Flicker Hill Homestead asked how many acres we had earlier, and we have 10 acres. So we don't have like massive amounts of land. We have 10 acres, and we do lease some land. We do lease land with other people sometimes, but we have 10 acres of our own right here, and it's 8 grazable acres because we have a house and we have our in-laws' house on that 10 acres as well. So it's not all 10 acres of grazable land. It's about 8 acres of grazable land. So
what animals do you have? List them off, what you've got.
We'll start with the biggest and work our way down. So we've got the cows, of course, the pigs, the rabbits, ducks, chickens, turkeys.
I think that's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's it. No, and that's the thing too. I don't think right now, how many head of cattle do we have? Are we down to about 15?
Yeah. So we've, who's that? Flicker Hill. Yeah. Yep. Flicker Hill's asking how many head of cattle we have. So we have 15, probably about 15 mamas.
No, not mamas. 15 total, babies and mamas. I think we only have about 8 mamas.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is we're paring down again. This year we're starting to scale back and starting to change out our herd. Yeah. But as Monica said, that's the thing with the amount of head of cattle we have. As she said, we have 8 grazable acres. I'm using probably about another 15 that's attached to us for now through the winter. Mm-hmm. And then we have, I think, 65 that I work off of through the summer.
Yeah. So we can move them around a little bit. So right now everybody's here with us because it's easier for us to put out hay and keep them in one central location. Plus, as they're dropping any winter calves, which is possible right now, we just had a calf born 2 days before the new year, which was super exciting. Actually, on Thursday, I think it was Thursday, right when my visitors were coming in from out of town, my family from Illinois was coming in. We had a calf hit the ground. And of course, I'm out there running, we're all in the house cleaning, all the kids. And all of a sudden the 12-year-old comes in and he's like, Mom, Clementine had her baby. And I was like, what? And I drop everything I'm doing, throw my boots on and just run outside. And of course, the whole rest of the kids came with me and I'm texting Eric and I'm like, you got to see Clem had her baby. So it was pretty cool to have that happen. We knew she was going to be coming soon, but we didn't know when the baby was going to hit the ground. And so it's nice to have them here during the winter, especially if they're calving this season, because it's a more difficult season, I think, sometimes to calve in with the weather being super unpredictable in the winter, because one day it's 75 degrees, the next day it's 50 and raining, and the next day it's 30. And so it's really nice to have them close.
Is that what they call it, hitting the ground?
Yeah, when the baby hits the ground, they do, because the baby literally just hits the ground as the mama stands up. The baby just plops on out. So,
it's funny. I did the little promotional the video clip that I put out. For
Yeah, it was cute.
It was and I did a close up of the cow, and I did that the night before, and I think you put a short out the night before, and they both came out at the same time, and they're very much in cahoots with each other because you have a lot of close up pictures of your cow. I just thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, it's fun watching those calves and watching all those cows eat that hay right now because they are just all in. I mean, even Eric was like, it's like a buffet out there. They just don't care. They just put their whole faces into it. They'll get into the hay ring. They'll get out of, I mean, they're just a mess. Calves and the full grown cows are just crazy. So it's fun to watch.
I'm glad we're not cows because eating straw all day long just wouldn't cut it for me. I need some cow.
Well, they do actually, you know, it's not just dry hay. You know, they eat the dry hay and then they swallow it and then they bring it back up and chew it a little bit longer. So you get some little, I told the kids it was like bubble gum that you just accidentally swallowed. I was like, they just bring it back up. Of course, the kids were mortified when I explained to them exactly what they were chewing out there when the cows were down there like chewing. And the kids were like, what? I was like, yeah. It's
of all the things they're mortified about that.
Yeah, it was weird to have them. They were like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They swallow it, then they bring it up and they chew it again. They were like, "That's gross." I'm like,
how many
"Yep."
stomachs do they have again? I can't remember. Was it 2 or 4?
They have the 4 rumen.
I thought,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
and that's part of homeschooling too. You know, back in 2020, things were really, sketchy out there. And so we actually were able to process one of our cows on the farm. And in that processing point, we were able to open up the insides and actually take a look at the stomach lining. We were able to take a look at all 4 chambers, the rumen, everything that you could think of, because I'm a homeschool mom. And for me, that was like extra science when they were taking the cow, all the parts that we were going to be actually processing at the processor. The kids and I were looking at all the insides and looking at the 4 chambers. We were looking at the heart and every part of it that we could possibly get our hands on, because I wanted the kids to have that experience, because that's not something you have an experience with every day. So yeah, we were enjoying that moment of knowing that this was an animal that we raised from the time he was born. And now we can look and see how God made him so perfect.
Is that a video you would even dare to show? Never.
Actually, at the time, we weren't even recording. That was in September of 2020. And I had my daughter who had her really nice camera at the time, and she was taking a ton of pictures of it. So we have a bunch of pictures of an event that was a family event. But yeah, we didn't take video of that. And that's before we started doing video. So
yeah, I know there's a lot of things you have to worry about, because you've been on a couple of my lives in the last month, and we've talked about things that you just can't show, and it's just stupid.
It is.
Well, we have 2 videos out there that show how to process rabbits and how to process turkeys
and how to castrate pigs. So we've got 3 pretty graphic videos.
And we don't ever show on the processing piece. We don't ever show the actual pulling of the trigger or taking the head off or anything like that. And we haven't been dinged for it. So
no, we just got dinged for the teenager riding the tractor.
And no sexting rabbits.
No, we learned that. We don't do that. You only sex the rabbits, not sexting. We don't type things. Rabbits don't have phones. They're not sexting anybody. Not happening.
Let me go get that water cup real quick.
Go for it.
So Monica, tell me.
Look, Paul says,
okay.
Eric keeps looking at Monica to say, "Can I speak now?"
Paul, you know me so well.
There's 33 people in this chat.
Wait a minute. Did you notice?
There's only 16 thumbs up. You guys need to hit that thumbs up.
Wait, did you notice that he went to the left of the screen, but he wound up back there? It's like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Look, he's back again.
He just shows up.
He's got a twin or something.
Because there's a center wall, and you can go around. Yeah. Man, this has been an interesting month. I've been doing those open panel mics, and I've really enjoyed them. Had a lot of interesting people come in on them, including yourself.
Yeah, well, without having the podcast on Wednesday nights right now, it was nice to be able to jump in there. We had a lot of technical difficulties with recording the podcast, and so every time we would start doing something, we'd have another problem. So we finally finished the season up, and we've been on break for a little bit because right now Casey at Ormsby Farms is having a terrible time with his internet. So once he gets things situated, it's going to get a little, we'll probably start recording again, but I'm glad I've been able to come in here and pop in and see and, chatting and stuff with you guys, watching the chat and kind of seeing what you guys are talking about.
So, no judgment here with Tish Ross was asking if we were raised on a farm, and no, we were not raised on a farm. That's actually why we started our YouTube channel. We YouTubed everything in the beginning. We first started because there really wasn't, that's the thing. Like we live out in the country, and there are people on our side of the street that raise animals, and everybody else. And I'll use the term community kind of loosely because they're rather large lots, but no one else raises animals, which is just I can't comprehend that. But
there's some like donkeys and some horses and stuff like up the road.
Okay.
The guy down at the end of the street raises goats. Do they not count?
I thought everybody has goats. You don't have goats?
We do not. No. We have goat sat, but we do not have goats. They're wily.
You want them, or you just don't have them?
No.
I would like to have them and then give them back to their owner. I don't mind having them, loving them, squishing on them and squeezing them real tight and feeding them, and then I can give them back.
I know we had a male goat one time and it stunk. I guess you have to castrate them or something. I don't know. That stunk.
That's because they pee on their face.
What?
They pee on their face.
How do they pee on their face?
They put their head between their legs and they just waz on it. They just Sorry.
Eric was raised by Sasquatch family. He's adopted by humans.
So
sorry.
So funny story about that though. This guy that was up the street from us, again, we weren't raised on a farm. So I'm going up the street. This guy had employed one of our kids to clean out his horse stalls. So he was like the stall boy or whatever. And yeah, thank you, Troy. I appreciate that. Anyway, so I was up the street. I was running or something. I don't know. And we saw each other. We waved at each other. I walked over to the fence. We started chatting. And he had this billy goat come over, and just like a billy goat, they're very inquisitive. So he kind of stands up on the top of the fence and, and I'm petting him, and as I'm like rubbing his face and stuff, the guy finally tells me after about 5 minutes, he's like, no, I wouldn't rub him if I were you. And I said, well, why not? And that's when he said, he's like, well, that's how they attract the females. They pee on their face.
Look, see, and right there, the male goats pee on their beards for mating.
Yeah. And so I couldn't get that stench off my hands for days. And Monica would never smell my fingers. I don't know why.
No. Lesson for everyone out there. Don't smell someone's hands. Don't smell their fingers. When they say smell my fingers, don't do it. That's gross. That's something every mom should know out there. Every mom, every grandma.
Even if they just wash their hands, why would you be sniffing on their fingers?
No, you don't need to sniff people's fingers. Don't put your fingers in my face. It's so gross.
Yes, well, did you see the other day? He says, "What's on my finger?
Oh.
Where has my finger been?"
Oh no, that's so gross.
We should play on our. Okay, when I mention this, I'm going to call it Four Bearded Men because we have a group that. Did you guys catch that at all, or at least know about it?
Was that the one you were telling me about?
Yeah, the night after.
Mm-hmm.
The night after it's going. Let me start over. Every last Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Maddie from Backwoods Mindset, Byron from 12 Stones Ranch, Pooch from Full Blown Country, and myself are going to do a live. And we're going to be trying to come up with new and different things to do each time we do it. And it's going to be the last Thursday of every month. And that's the 26th this month, which is my dad's birthday. So that should be
nice.
I look
But wait,
forward.
you said something. That wasn't the 4 bearded guys.
I'm calling it the Ford Bearded Guys until we come up with the title of our own. I mean,
Is Byron going to grow a real beard, or is he just keeping his little baby beard?
a beard is a beard.
That's true.
It's still a beard.
Byron's going to be like,
All
what?
kinds of beards. There's short ones and little ones and big ones and fat ones. And
I better be nice to. I was going to get in touch with Byron soon, so I'd be nice to Byron. And Troy said, Byron, sorry, bud. Oh, look right there. Goat's milk soap actually eliminates that boy goat smell. So if you ever touch a boy goat that's, doing his thing. I'm sorry, Byron.
that's me.
There you go. There goes Monica making enemies
You know
again.
what? He has a pretty thick beard, so if he actually grew it out like this, it'd be probably pretty massive.
Wow. Well then. I
You
stand
stand
corrected. I'm gonna have to see. I'm gonna have to tune on the 26th and see if his beard is what all we're talking about.
You got a month. 12 months.
Well, I think he comes on before then, so I'll probably check out and I'll be scoping him out. I'll be like, Byron, I'm looking
Well,
for
it's actually on 12 Stones live
his time slot.
Yeah.
Because he comes on at like 7 on Thursdays.
7, just before you guys.
Yep.
So that's great because we can push your channel after us.
That'd be cool. All the bearded people are coming in.
You're on your own 3 weeks.
Go from one bearded guys to another one. I'll have to get my beard growing in.
I had to trim mine up. I was instructed to do so.
You were not instructed to do so. He trimmed his beard up on his own. Just for everyone out there, I did not make him trim his beard. I did not do it. He asked me what I had an opinion about, and I gave him my opinion. I can't help it. He values my opinion. Why are you looking at me?
Because every time I look in the camera and see how short it is now, it's lame.
Oh, poor guy.
Someday I'll shave mine off too, but right now I need it.
You could donate it.
I doubt anybody wants a freaking this. It's very frizzy.
Of this.
Troy keeps trying to mess with me right now, but I'm ignoring you, Troy, because I'm multitasking right now. I'm trying to listen and read at the same time, and I'm doing it. I'm doing it, brother.
Could you imagine a recipient opening the box and saying, "What the heck is this?"
I bet you they would use it for top of the head for men. They could use it for men hair, like on the top. I'm not kidding.
With the little curls like
yes, I saw yesterday on a reel. It was a guy at the barbershop, and he had his head shaved like kind of around here because it was like real thin. And then they put like real dark strips of like thick hair, and then they shaved it down because it was like glued to the top, and it was like real fine. It took years off that guy. I'm not even kidding you. I was like, what? I'm not kidding. I saw it. I'll show you.
Wow.
I've seen some of those videos. I don't know how anybody could stand to have something glued to their scalp.
Yeah, I don't know about that either.
That would make me feel like I was suffocating or something.
Yeah, I don't know about the fake hair stuff. I even think about my eyebrows soon because I know my eyebrows are going to straight up disappear in the next 20 years or so. Probably in the next 10 years because they'd be starting to get, I don't even know if I could draw them things on. I'd be all kinds of.
Well, she can't draw them on because she'll only have one expression.
Well, when you're 90, you can draw them up here.
Well, that's why I always say my grandmother passed away in her mid-70s, and I asked my mom if they put an eyeliner pencil in her back pocket when they buried her. She didn't. My mom didn't like that. She did giggle a little bit, but I said, I'm going to need one too because we be drawing our eyebrows when young. So I have a feeling I'm just going to have to go with no eyebrows when I turn 50. So Heather said, she said hi to Byron, and then she had to tell him she liked his beard. So everybody's feeling bad that I messed with Byron.
Wow.
Trying to lift Byron up now. I'm so sorry,
It's too
Byron.
late. You already tore him down.
He knows I'm joking.
Poor guy just trying to live his best life growing his little baby beard.
See?
What did I say?
Stop. Oh my goodness.
Byron.
He doesn't live too far from us. I have a feeling
I
he's
know.
going to come knocking on the door or
We're
something.
ripping on you, Byron. Well,
No sweat on the brow.
Byron has eyebrows.
Yeah, I know. At least you have eyebrows. Mine will be disappearing in a couple years.
Well, does he? I don't know. I just said that.
Does he? I'm gonna have to go look at a picture of Byron now. See if he has eyebrows. Time to do some YouTube
Now,
searching.
while we got the height of the, this is probably the height of the chat. I'd like to mention about Little Ridge Farms.
Mhm.
I don't know how many of you might know, but if you don't know, he suffered a loss of his house, and not to mention many other issues he's dealing with at this point. And his house burned down, what, about a month ago? Was it?
I think in November, I think. He's in here still, I think. But I think it was November because he was kind of gone for a few months. And then he came back, I guess, and I want to say it was right before Christmas in November, maybe.
Yeah, it was.
Before the Christmas holiday because I was sick. So I remember watching some of that stuff when I was sick in December.
So I put the link to the video where he explains everything and what happened at the top of, I pinned it at the top of the chat. So if you'd like to go check that out, he leaves information on how you can help if you would like to help him out. He also put it in his about section on his YouTube page. So please go check that out. And if you can help, that's great. If you can't help financially, watch his videos. Watch his videos, comment, play his playlist, because he is monetized, so that can help. And do what you can.
There you go. Yeah, definitely.
Let's
Oh,
see.
Linda Peterson said you have a nice beard too, Eric.
Oh, that's very kind of you. It looked better.
It looked more better.
Monica made you destroy it, right?
I twisted his arm and said, "Go shave your beard."
It's all out of love, man. It's all out of love.
Now you can't do the curlies.
Make it wind it.
Let's see. It seems like there was something else I wanted to announce. I already talked about the Four Bearded Men and Little Ridge Farm and Lindsay. Let's see if I can do this really quick. Share screen. Share screen. Share screen. I started working on Lindsay's thumbnail.
Oh, very nice.
This is not finished. This is rough. I just kind of threw the stuff together and then I'll start working with it. But Lindsay is my guest next week. Really looking forward to that because she debuted her channel on the 1st and she's got 3 videos out that everybody needs to go check.
Very nice.
Let's see. Stop sharing. Yeah, she does documentaries where she does research on missing people who have disappeared and have not been found. So you're going to want to go check that out. Interesting.
I'm already going to subscribe right now because that is my cup of tea right there. I think I actually may have looked her up when she told you guys the name. I was on there when she was talking about what her name of her channel was going to be. And so.
Did I do that? I want to see if I did this.
Oh, she's got 4 videos up. Oh, that's her trailer. Never mind. That's her channel trailer. That's cool. Well, I'm excited. I'm going to be binging these probably tomorrow. Very nice. That's my thing. Whenever I'm doing things around the house or whatever, a lot of times I will binge on like true crime, missing persons, things like that. Just all those different.
She's just trying to learn.
Oh my God.
Trying to learn. Look, Byron said, Eric and Monica. Let's see. He said, Eric and Monica, what are your favorite animals to raise or work with and why? Go ahead. You can say, what are your favorite?
Boy, I have several animals that I like. I mean, the cows to me are always very relaxing. I enjoy the cows. I enjoy raising pigs because they're a very hardy animal and they're kind of fun to be around. They have their personalities and just like the cows do. And I think the third one, probably one of the few birds that I actually like, are the turkeys.
Mm-hmm.
The turkeys are super cool because they can fly up in the trees. Sometimes you gotta like go on a search and rescue mission, trying to find them jokers because you're counting them and you're like, okay, there's 3 missing. And then you look up in the trees, they're not there. You look around the house, they're not there. You look in the pens, they're not there. And then you realize the whole time they're sitting up like on top of the garage, watching you walk around them like you're searching for Easter eggs or something, man. It's pretty fun though.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful animals, especially all the different colors of their feathers and stuff.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of different varieties of the turkeys. So the turkeys are really neat. My 8-year-old takes care of the turkeys. They're his animal. We all have, our animals, our kids have different animals to care for. And the 8-year-old loves the turkeys and he does a good job with those. And so it's been really fun with that. Oh my gosh, that's such a cool clip.
I know which one Byron is.
The one with the baby beard?
See, I didn't even say it that time.
It's too big. You got to make it smaller.
Oh no, that looks so good.
You do like
well,
a 5.
he might grow it out, so.
No, that actually looks like Byron's beard. We'll give him that.
Okay, that was just something that I was playing.
I love it.
It's nothing official. I showed the other guys it, but I thought it would be fun to share.
That looks cool. But yeah, I think I like the turkeys too. I think I definitely like the pigs. Working with the pigs is really fun for me, especially when I can get to them when they're really little, and they have such great personalities. Pigs really have great personalities, and every one of them is so different. But it's really cool when you can just sit next to a 200-pound pig and know that they're just sitting there chilling with you, and all they want you to do is rub their belly or their ears, and they just are relaxed, and that's a really cool feeling when you have animals that trust you that much. And I really like the pigs. I mean, I love watching some of the other animals. I love watching the Muscovy ducks. But I really like working with the pigs when I get a chance to, when it's warm outside. Otherwise, they don't see me and don't get to know me in the winter. I'm extremely biased against the weather.
So I saw you teaching kids about canning and, how the lids pop and all that stuff and the actual technical part of canning.
Yeah.
I didn't catch what that was. Was that at church or was that something that it's a Skillshare, right?
So we actually have done a couple Skillshares here in Northeast Texas with a few different people, with Jake over at Nunya, Texas on the back 20, and Carmen over at Carmen and her husband Nathan over at Jesus Loving Homesteader. We've done some Skillshares with them, but the one video where I was talking to the kids in particular, we do because I homeschool my kids, we are a part of a homeschool co-op group that is in Greenville, Texas. And we teach, it's like a parent led. So the parents have to participate. And so this season, the last semester, I taught a food preservation class, and we are a 10-week course. And so what I did was I offered, yes, I did admit to being a fair weather farmer. Yes, I did, Paul. I am a fair weather pig farmer is what I am. Only in the good weather.
Papa and I joke about being hobby farmers.
Well,
it's 36 acres of grapes, but we're hobby.
It's definitely more than a hobby for us. However, I am definitely fair weather when it comes to the weather. I am particular, but no, it's been a really cool experience. These kids, because the parents develop the classes and the kids get to choose. And so I offered a class on food preservation, thinking maybe I'd get like 4 or 5 young girls that wanted to do it, because why else would a bunch of middle school and high schoolers need to learn about food preservation? Well, I had a full class of like 11 kids. They were all really excited. And we did 10 weeks of different types of food preservation. We pressure canned, we water bath canned, we used the oven and practiced some dry canning that way. We vacuum sealed. We talked about the different methods, some things that maybe were proper, some things that weren't really proper, but some things that people did, and maybe why or why not they would work. We had a couple experiments, and we actually got to vacuum seal in mason jars in the very first week. Then we vacuum sealed in a couple bags in the same week. And then we put some goldfish in a regular baggie. And I said, okay, which ones do you think are going to last the longest? Which ones do you think are going to taste the best? And the very last week of the the semester, we pulled all of our little mason jars out with our names that had been sitting there for 10 weeks. And we cracked the seals open and they got to eat their goldfish that we put into mason jars. And they all could sit there and go, wow, this was 10 weeks ago we did this. And these crackers in this, these little goldfish crackers in this little tiny mason jar taste exactly like you just popped it open. You just a fresh bag from the grocery store versus the ones that was in a baggie that you put on the shelf because you just, closed the seal up. It didn't last. And they were stale and the kids were like, this is disgusting. And we got to dehydrate things and we got to do all these things. And it was really fun. And it was a really fun experience. And Eric happened to be off of work one Friday. And so he caught me doing some of that, but it was really cool it was a really cool class to teach these kids. And by the end of the season, it was, Christmas time at the end. And I had several high school kids. I mean, like 17, 16 and 18-year-olds asking their parents for vacuum sealers for Christmas. I'm not even kidding you. The one girl, it's her senior year, and she told her mom, she's like, I want a vacuum sealer, one of the handheld ones like Miss Monica had. And her mom was like, could you send me the stuff that you had in class? And I'm like, I'll send you everything I used in class. But it was really cool because even some of the parents were very impressed with what their kids were learning. We made our own Amish bread. We fermented. We did all those things. And it was really cool to practice. And we got to eat something new every week. So that was fun too. Because I always brought food and, kids like food. So.
Well, and I want, and I wanted to say that, a lot of times the kids don't know that because it's not handed down to them. And you can see with this class of just normal high school kids where they really draw into that because they see the class that I was there for was Monica was making caramel sauce.
Oh yeah, we just took a little can and made it caramel. We made the like dulce de leche. We just took the milk, mixed a few things, and we made little things of dulce de leche for them to eat with apples, and they loved it.
Yeah, and to see the look on someone's face that they can make what they buy is just amazing,
Yeah.
And I think at one point in time, one of the kids had reached out to my daughter and told her that she was adulting.
Yeah.
Because she was buying supplies.
So she could can up her own. She wanted to pickle herself some pickled garlic. So that it was the 17-year-old, her senior year. And she's like, I'm pickling garlic today. And she sent a picture to both myself and Abigail. And she sent a picture and said, okay, it's official. I'm adulting now. I'm buying canning jars and vinegar at the store with some fresh garlic. But she did it. And in the end, she was like, I hated it. It was awful. I just think I didn't get the recipe right. And I asked her, I said, well, are you going to try again? And she's like, maybe. And I said, yeah, that's how you get it right. I said, the pickle recipe that I gave you guys, I tweaked it. I found a few that I liked, and then I tweaked it to something that I wanted and that worked best for me. You can never stop trying. You have to get it right if you want it to taste like you want it to taste. So she said she would try it again. So I'm excited to see how she likes it the next time. So
that's one of the things I like about this community is especially the families that have children. They teach their kids these skills and stuff. And I was 10 years old when we moved here, and we lived in the suburbs, so I didn't know any of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was just, I wish I had been, if I was going to be a farmer, a kid on a farm, I wish I had grown up in it instead of already been 10 years old and thought that playing on the street and going off in my bike and all that stuff was the most important thing to do in the world. It would have helped, but it's okay. Well,
I think even growing up in an environment like this, with my kids, because I've talked to them and some of them say, they want to continue doing this when they grow up. And of course that could change when they get married or, just leave the house for college or whatever they're attempting to do in life. But like I always tell them, even if you don't leave here having your own farm, that you have the skills to do what you need to do. And that's the most important part for us is teaching these kids the skills that it takes to do it. Number one, and number two, by giving them good work ethic so that they know what it means to actually work hard.
Yeah.
And some of my kids have worked labor intense jobs, the older kids, when they've left the house, that was their job. And, they go on the construction sites or they go and work some of these other places. And, they talk about how these grown men sit there and complain about how this work is so hard, and they just start laughing, and they're like, you need to go work on the farm a day, and then you'll see what real hard work is.
Yeah.
So my kids are working hard. They're out there and trying to be good citizens that are working hard and contributing to this wonderful country that we live in. And, so those are the skills I hope that they learn.
Well, not only are they learning specific skills, but they're learning how to strategize.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how to figure out how to do stuff that you've never done before. And, people, when I tell them I work on, I'm not a construction worker. I work on our own projects, but I could do the stuff that a construction worker does.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of firsts where I've never done something, and you just got to figure it out. There's YouTube and there's trial and error. And you just
Well, my kids out front, that we always tell the story about how my boys wanted to build. I always wanted my kids to have a playhouse, and Eric's like, okay, playhouse is for girls. They don't need a playhouse. And I'm like, we need a tree house. And he's like, I don't have time for a tree house. And so then we got here, and the kids were like, we want to build like a fort. And I'm like, duh, why did I not say it was a fort years ago? Not call it a playhouse. You can't call a playhouse for a bunch of boys. You call it a fort.
Yeah,
duh. So rewording, I got it. Took me a long time. However, they wanted to build a fort. And so they built a fort using the hay bales as the edges. Well, Eric needed the hay bales, so they took apart their fort and they wanted to redo it. And it's been about 3 years now, I think, since they've redone their fort. But they actually went with my brother-in-law, who has a bunch of pallets that he's gotten from over the years. They went with my brother-in-law to his house down the road, came back with a stack of pallets. I mean, just crazy amount of pallets that they could build with. And they built themselves a pallet fort right up against our tree. I mean, they're using real power tools. They were going back and forth with like saws. And I'm like, you guys wanted to use that? And they were like, yeah, it's fine. And they're like carrying this saw. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, just don't hurt each other. Don't hurt yourself. Please don't come in here. And just be safe. They were like, we're safe, Mom. Now they did use some of Dad's really nice wood and his very nice, I guess, all the like nails and screws that he needed. However, they knew what they were doing and they practiced. And I walked out there at one point and I was so impressed because they had this amazing pulley system in place. And I'm like, that's science, guys. And they were like, no, it's not. Don't say that. And I'm like, okay. I mean, don't tell them they're learning, but they were doing so many different things. And it was really cool to see them work together because you have 5 kids ages. I mean, at the time, I want to say my oldest, it was probably about 3 years ago. So the oldest at the time of those 5 kids that was working was 11. So you had an 11, 9, 7, 5, and, a 3-year-old out there running around. Yeah, that was probably it. That was probably a couple years ago. So yeah, it was.
And they took all my good 2x4s.
They did take all your good 2x4s, but they used a lot of old wood. They knew what they were doing. And they go out there each year, each season, and they talk about how they're going to tweak it. And they keep making it better. And it's really cool to see them do that.
The reason why you don't like to hear it called the playhouse is because farmer parents never like to hear the word play.
Well, I guess I always think of Pee Wee's Playhouse now. So I'm like, that's probably not a good idea. We're just going to stick with fort. It's going to go with fort. But, the thing is that they learned. They were constantly using their brain and just, doing new things. And it made me really proud in the end to see what they accomplished. And I made sure I told them every single time. I'm like, do you see that outside? What you just did? Like, that's amazing. I wasn't doing that when I was, 11 and 12 years old. I mean, they're pretty incredible. So, yeah.
I was watching a video, and I wish I had tagged it or took down the link so I could have shared it to some people. But this one guy, he stacked hay bales in the shape of a hut or whatever it was that he was building. And then he put concrete and rebar and everything over top of it, and then he borrowed the neighbor's cow and let him eat all the straw out.
Oh, that's cool.
So he had this like concrete
dome
building, and it was cool in there. I mean, like physically cool in there. But I love all kinds of building stuff, and what I would like to do is have more channels where people are building any kind of structure. It's not just tiny houses, but mansions even. In fact, the week after I have Lindsay, I have Mansard Media, and they are doing a revival on a mansion in St. Louis, and that's going to be
cool.
really interesting live. It's a little different from what I've been doing, but I think people will enjoy it.
Sure. Well, you know, that's the thing too, with when it comes to kids or in just general, you know, we're always trying to raise our kids to be functioning adults. And people, you know, if you baby your kids so much, then they never learn to be adults. And that's the problem with a lot of the kids nowadays. These young adults now were never treated like people that were going to become adults. They were just treated like babies the whole time. And so now you have all these young adult babies that don't know how to do anything for themselves. And unfortunately, it seems like it's a half a generation just like that. And it's so scary to think that these people are going to be running our country soon enough. So I feel like we just need to make sure we're treating our kids with respect and enough knowledge that remembering that they are going to be the adults that run the country when we're in diapers. So
yeah. I'm concerned about these kids that are in the formative years of learning how to read and do arithmetic and all that stuff. And they've missed out on those years in school due to this mess. And,
yep.
you know, that can really have a long-lasting impact on some students through school.
Yeah. Jen said, if I ever get a bunch of hay rolls in concrete.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
When I was 14, I built so many
CB antenna quads. He said, I was so smart back then.
I know we had this little building on our property that used to be the gas house, but it was obsolete. So they took all the guts out of it and everything. And it's just a cinder block building. And man, I was drawing up plans. I was going to build my house out there, and at like, what was I, 12 or 13 years old? Because when we moved here from California, and everybody had their own bedroom. In fact, there was an extra bedroom that we made into an office and bathrooms. And we came out here to a 2-bedroom ranch house. My sister got one. My mom and dad took the other room, and my brother and I were in the dining room that they had. They made a makeshift bedroom out of that. And I was thinking of how I was going to move out in that gas house.
There you go. Got to get out there. Well, kids were already talking about today. We were joking because the schoolroom that we're in now, the spare room, if you will, schoolroom, spare room, whatever you want to call it, the extra room where everything gets thrown into, it's been completely cleaned out. And a lot of my canning stuff has been moved out to the garage temporarily, just to hold, because I had visitors in. So we needed to use this room for the visitors. And the kids and I were talking this morning about what they were like, well, you're going to get shelves for that canning stuff. What are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. And we were talking a little bit, and I was like, yeah, you know, when Luke moves out, Luke is my 21-year-old that's going to be married in a couple years. I said, then somebody else can get his bed. And they were like, then we can get another bed, and then we can do this, and maybe we can go downstairs. And I'm like, oh my gosh, guys. So they were starting to plan out the rest of the house, like for the next 5 years, I guess, where everybody was going to live. And I'm like, guys, settle down. But they have, I mean, I was listening to them upstairs jumping around right now, probably playing basketball up in their room. But we've got, 6 boys in one room. It's like a frat house up there right now. But, they were planning out how they were going to shift around and take over the rest of the house one day. And I'm like, you guys need to settle down. Enjoy your room you have.
That could be fun for the most part, but I'm sure there's times when they're like, oh man, I wish I had my own room. But
well, they're always, with a large family, you're never going to get your own room unless you're the only child in that, like Abigail has her own room because she's the only girl. So she doesn't share with anybody. But yeah, you're never going to get the only room, your own room when you have this many kids until you're the baby of the family. And then eventually, I guess he'll have his own.
We lived in Southern California, Bobby. And we could see the fireworks from our house for Disneyland.
Wow, that's cool.
So it was a little bit different kind of living. I look at, because you can go on Google Earth and look at your old house and stuff like that. And I look at that, it's like, I just can't imagine living like that again.
Yeah.
I remember, there's one thing a child on a farm doesn't experience. I mean, they might not want to work on something a day. They might be like, I don't want to do this, or complain or whatever. But boredom is not something you experience on a farm. It's not boredom. You might not want to do something, but it's not boredom. And I remember when we lived out in California, I would sit there on the sidewalk because all my friends took off for the weekend with their family members or a mini vacations or whatever they did. And I was bored.
Oh.
When I went back to visit that place, probably about 15 years after we moved, I felt the dread of that boredom. And I finally said to myself, I'm glad we moved, because I complained that we moved for the longest time. Mm-hmm. Because, my brother was 17, my sister was 15, and I was 10. And it's a different world when you come to a grape farm. I remember the first day that we all went out as a family, and we started on the first rows of grapes, and we were tying them. And I tied the first plant or two, and I said, that was fun. Now let's go in the house. He goes, 30. Well, at the time we only had 16 acres of grapes. And I'm like, what? No way.
I think that there's always that anticipation of something new and something fun. When we first got here, our field, our pasture was so overgrown because the people that lived here were older and they didn't have animals here anymore. They didn't care for that. Everything was really overgrown. And so like the first few months we were here, I mean, pretty much we got here the first week of August in Texas. It was only in the 90s that year. It wasn't really bad. It was a very dry year, but it wasn't super hot. So we kind of got here on a mild year. And so it was like the end of August, and we had been here for a few weeks, and Eric's like, all right, we've got to go out here and mend these fences. If we're going to have cattle or horses or anything, we have to go out here and make sure the fence is good. And so I think everybody was like really gung-ho at first, and they were all excited. And I think like after the first day or two of trying to mend the fences and take the trees off the fence that had fallen over the years and repair some of the things that need to be done, I think my kids were done. They were like, that's a lot. And also doing it in weather that they're not accustomed to. I mean, we were here only 3 weeks, and we had our then 4-year-old. He was 4 years old. He was outside with his cowboy boots on, a little cowboy hat. And he came in after being outside with his dad for a few hours, and he was wiped out. And I said, something's wrong with this kid. And he laid out on the couch, and I realized he was having heat exhaustion. And I didn't know it. It wasn't even that hot outside. But he had been out, and the weather was so different here than we were accustomed to in Maryland, because the heat is just a different type of heat, and our bodies really weren't acclimated. And so I really had to really start figuring out how Texas would affect my family a little differently. And so, the kids were really excited at first, and they were like, nah, we're good. And the first time, I'll never forget the first time they went to go clean up poop in the field. Eric's like, we're time to scoop poop, guys. And they were like, yeah. And they were like trying to get, I think it gets old after like 20 minutes. Well, it just sounds like, oh, this could be fun, going out there and making compost. And, the one time we had some hay out there. We're bagging hay that was grass that was just cut because we had, areas that we could bag up, and it was a lot. And you can work for a little bit, and then you're like, okay, is this done? Because this is intense now. Much more than we think we realized at first too.
My dad was telling me stories about how his brothers and sisters and, friends in the neighborhood, or whatever you want to call it, they would pick up the frozen cow patties and throw them at each other.
Oh, we've kicked many of them. I've kicked many of them at other people. They're walking, you're kicking them at the kids, or when they're all like solid and dirt, and it's basically dirt now. It's not going to do anything, but yeah. And of course, our blue heeler likes to mess with them. He likes them when they're brand new. So that's just gross. So
yeah,
a whole different world out there in the pasture.
Well, you know what? I'm so glad they didn't do the cow farming or anything like that. Livestock would not have been my thing. Ours is all fruit and vegetable, and we had a fruit stand, and we did it pretty big time. That fruit stand had everything on it. If we didn't grow it ourselves, we got stuff from the local farmers, and there's a Buffalo market. We would get our peaches and stuff that doesn't really grow in this region.
Yeah.
And it was packed, and it was quite the job. And we went to markets too. So
That's cool though.
Sister or my brother, depending on who was available or whatever. And I did eventually when I was older, and my sister and brother had moved out. We would go to the market sometimes 3 times a week and run the fruit stand. My parents would run the fruit stand. So yeah, it was the life, that's for sure. Now it's a lot quieter. Now we just do the grapes and work on, whatever we want as far as the house goes or whatever.
Yeah. There's Jackie Saylor and Brampton Gardner. Look at that. Rochelle just said, so you just let anyone on your lives now? You just let, we have a special guest tomorrow night on our live. It's going to be Brampton Gardner.
Yeah.
Rochelle,
Everybody's going to check out their live tomorrow night.
Yep. Rochelle's
Bar Run Forge. Okay. How does that work out? Bar Run Forge is 7 Central.
No, he comes on at 6 Central. I think he comes on at 6.
He's 7 Eastern. That's why.
Yes.
So 6. Yep. And then
6
you
Central.
guys, let's do it all in Central so it doesn't get confusing. Yep. He's 6 o'clock Central, and you guys are 7 o'clock Central.
8 o'clock Central. Yep.
And
yeah, because sometimes if 12 Stones, if Byron pops one, if he schedules a live, usually he comes on about 7. So does Brampton Gardner. She usually does about 7 or 7:30, I think. Is it 7 usually she does?
Yeah.
Eric usually pulls up somebody and somebody's running a live on our, he'll pull open our laptop in here. He'll open up a live. A lot of times he throws up on he'll throw Brampton Gardner up on the screen, check in with her, and then he'll run out and then he'll go get his food or his coffee or whatever he's getting. And so I come into the schoolroom and I hear Rochelle talking in the screen. And usually I'm walking around with, if Byron's on, I'll walk around with Byron on my phone screen, and then I'll be listening to him and he'll have Brampton Gardner over here. So we multitask that way as a family.
And let's make that clear. He is 7 o'clock Central.
Yeah, he's 7 o'clock Central.
12 Stones Ranch. Go check him out too.
7:30. There you go.
If you guys subscribe to Eric and Monica, Bland's Promised Land Ranch, please make sure you do that. I doubt there's probably anybody in this live chat that hasn't.
Oh, there's a bunch of people that we didn't know, so that's pretty cool.
Well, then subscribe. And of course, subscribe to my channel if you are coming in because, Bland's Promised Land. Speaking of that, I am getting so close to monetization. I'm at 878 subscribers.
Oh, no, you're at 881 right now, mister. I'm looking right at your page. You're at 881.
Oh, okay. So I'm 881.
882.
Ooh.
Boom, right there.
I've got to be, once I hit that 900, I hope that it goes fast.
So do you have enough watch hours?
My hours are at 3,720 something, or no, 760 something. So I'll probably finish my hours first.
Wait, you said 3,700 and something?
Yeah. 60.
Yeah. And now you're looking at it on the computer?
Yeah.
So what happened was we were looking at ours on our YouTube studio, and we were just looking at 365 days on our YouTube studio. And then I realized that you had to actually go in and look at the YouTube studio monetization portal in the thing. And I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So even when I thought we were good, we were like 60 hours away. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. How is this different? So yeah, needless to say, I think
fortunately my hours weren't really high at this time last year. So not a lot has dropped off. But man, if I make it to shoot dang time where we went to shoot dang, I'm gonna lose 1,000 hours right there.
Oh no.
That would suck. But it won't take that long. I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine it being more than a month before I hit the thing, especially if people subscribe to me.
Yeah, usually it's that last little bit you just like inching through. I think I feel like it took forever for us for a little bit there. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Just
I know the last 100 subscribers I've gotten have gone so slow. And I've noticed that with a lot of channels.
mhm.
Some of my friends their channels are actually going down.
Yeah, we lost like 5 subscribers a few weeks ago in the middle of me like
talking
doing
Like 100 subscribers.
well for us 100s. I mean, we're not even that far. So 5 is still big for us. I'm like, 5, we lost 5 subscribers? What in the world? I mean,
The world is going to end.
I was like upset we lost 5 subscribers. I was like, 5 people? What are we doing? Because look, if we just get a couple people a day, I'm happy. When I was doing my Vlogmas, we were getting anywhere between 5 and like 15 subscribers a day. I was so excited. I was like, Eric, we had minimum of 5 subscribers. And then we like lost 5 at one point. And I was so mad. I was like, this is stupid. Why do we lose 5 people? YouTube's purging us. Like 5, literally 5 people. That was it. But
well, that does happen. And I've seen some people really lose a lot all at once. And it's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. See, Rochelle said she felt like she was stuck in the 800s forever too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder.
800 zone.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if YouTube kind of like pins you down to maybe not let you get over that threshold. Because I will say once
Because then they can start putting commercials on your stuff and making money themselves.
Yep. Look, Ann Dale lost 500 people in October. That's crazy.
That would make me sick. If I woke up and looked at that, I would just like.
Well, Ann's big time now. She's in the thousands. She's big time. So
Yeah.
500 to drop in the bucket for her now.
I can't remember what her numbers are, but I think it's over 6,000 for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Ann Dale's big time. Let's see. Ann Dale is at 6.48 thousand.
she's just showing off now.
Yeah. And yeah, Jen, phony Vlogmas subbers. 5 people decided they didn't like my Vlogmas, apparently.
I have 2,768 hours.
Very nice.
And that's
go
actual
fast.
hours. It's within the 365-day window.
Yeah. That'll go fast too.
So I'm excited about it. And speaking of that, I know M&T Homestead is probably not in here or they're watching us on the big screen, but long before I even started doing the open mic things, I had told them when I hit my 1,000,
Mm-hmm.
I was going to have them co-host my channel, co-host with me on my channel. But I think I'm going to wait until I'm monetized because why not make it official?
There you go. That would be good.
I don't think it would be much longer after I got my subscriptions either. Anyway.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, one last thing before we close this out, and I should have talked about it. Remember, I told you I was thinking of something else I was supposed to announce. We talk about the Mid-America meetup that everybody's going to go to, and we got some good people going, and we got a lot of people going. And these are people confirmed that have already got their rooms booked.
Wait, is that the one with MT Homestead?
Yeah, that's gonna.
Yeah, I want to book my room. I knew I should have booked it already. Oh man.
If it's a problem, just look for the Airbnbs. That's what we did.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out if I want to take my kids or if I want to make it a anniversary weekend because it's literally on the weekend in May. Trying to think, what is it? The May 20th or 19th or?
Well, here's what you could do: is get
May 19th, 20th, and 21st, and my anniversary is the 24th. So I wanted to kind of maybe make it an anniversary getaway, but I kind of thought the kids would really love it up there.
This is what you do.
Okay.
Get yourself an Airbnb or a room and have the kids camp, and then they can shower at the Airbnb or whatever you get. But they can camp. You got older kids, right? That can look over
Yeah.
the younger ones, right? That's an option.
Yeah.
That would be
Eric
kinda
takes the
cool. And then you
dishes.
can have your anniversary night.
Well, the thing is that like, so it's a Friday, so my daughter might be able to come, depends on work. My 21-year-old son, he's not going to be able to come. He'll be working. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do because I really wanted to book the room. I really wanted to get all that set up and booked now so that it's a priority and it doesn't get pushed off our calendar somewhere. Because if we don't do it sooner than later, it will get pushed off our calendar and something else will come up. So, but if we have all the kids here, then they can just take care of the ranch without us.
That sounds
That's a
good.
better idea.
I'm saying.
Well, how far are you? Well, you're at least 4 hours away from it, right?
I think we're about 3 hours away or so. I need to do I want to do another little map quest thing, but I kind of looked at it. It's not that far. I mean, Oklahoma we're like an hour and a half south of Oklahoma line. So I don't even know if we're that. Yeah, probably about an hour and a half south, depending on which way you go.
Well, I tell you, there's a lot of people last year that didn't go to Shoot Dang and
Mhm.
said that they regretted not going. I think you're really going to regret this one too if you don't go, because the same people plus are going to be there. And there's the list of people who are interested in going and haven't quite made up their minds yet is pretty good too. So I would definitely get on that bandwagon if you're going to do it. And
Yeah.
get it
Well,
started.
that's what I was looking at. Yeah. So it is actually about 4 hours and 20 minutes north of us. So I'll have to be looking into that real soon because that's definitely going to be a day trip. But it would be fun if Eric could get off work early and we could head out there on that Friday and then hang out and come home. And even if it's just a day, it would be fun.
Yeah. Or overnight would be better.
Yeah.
Well, you got to be able to have the nighttime campfires and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Jesse said there's already close to 40 channels confirmed. That's pretty cool. Yeah. 4.5 hours from us. Yeah. That's what Byron said.
I'm not
So
sure.
that'd be cool.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. I'm traveling with my dad for 16 hours. So
Wow.
and I debated last year when we went to Shoot Dang, am I really doing the right thing by going to this? Am I going to go all this way and then like wonder why I did it? Well, I don't regret 1 mile of it. It was so much fun. I enjoyed
That's
it.
cool.
And I'm an introvert,
Yeah.
which is, I guess I'm not anymore. Apparently this whole YouTube community has turned me into an extrovert, but I was definitely an introvert.
Well, I definitely looks like it would be really fun. I like the idea of going up there and just meeting people and just getting out of our zone for a minute. Eric doesn't ever take trips anywhere because of the farm, but I think it might be an opportunity for us to go up there and go hang out and take a breath away from the farm for a minute. So we'll see.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for coming in on this live. It was a blast. It's really, really enjoyable to talk to you too.
Well,
And
thank you for having us.
tomorrow night, check out Bland's Promised Land Ranch at, what is it, Central again?
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Central. Yep. And at 9 o'clock, we'll have Rochelle from Brampton Gardener come in and hang out with us for that last hour or so. So we can joke around and maybe, I don't know, make fun of Eric for an hour. It's going to be great. I'm excited.
And then don't forget that Bar Run Forge is at 6 o'clock Central.
Yep.
But he's Eastern, but we'll say Central.
Yeah.
Then Byron is at 7.
Yep.
Be there
Yep.
on all of them.
There you go.
And we'll close this out. And you want
Thank you guys. Thank
Yep.
you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
see me in the green room for a couple of minutes. And thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Bye,
Good
everybody.
evening,
Bye.
and we'll see you next week with Lindsay. And her channel name is Into the Mist. Not mist like mist in the air, but mist like they're missing. So
I can't wait to watch it. I'm so excited.
it's good. I was privileged to see the first one before they even aired any of it. And
I am really
wow,
excited.
cool. It is good. And I see it really getting much better even after she gets her footing and how she wants to do it. And and how she's going to bring in B-roll and stuff like that. It's going to be really cool.
Ooh, I can't wait to watch it.
So, all righty. Thank you very much. And I'll see you on the other side.
All right.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody. See you next week.
Night, everybody.